There we go. There you are. Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. Everyone will please stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, so the first item for us to handle here is the consent agenda. Recommended action: approve the following items which are included in the consent agenda: 5A minutes, 6A long-term teaching assistant appointment, 6B CSEA appointment, 7A sports merger, and 7B special education. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Joan.
Second.
Thank you, Colleen. Calling one. Does anyone have any discussion or want anything?
Six, yes. 7, yes.
Go. Thank you very much, everyone. For the good of the cause, have you received any emails?
I checked a minute ago and they were not.
Okay.
Check again.
I'm going to assume that there's no one here. to talk.
Right, exactly. There are none.
Okay. All right, I don't see anybody go through the door, so moving on to the buildings and ground report. Dana.
Well, it's been a relatively quiet month since the last time I reported out, so I really just want to focus on the fact that we have transitioned and are transitioning with Dave Mayberry being the director of facilities. So everything is really starting to fall under his overview, and it seems to be working smoothly with the two head custodians now in place, and then Dave really overseeing it, finding that things are starting to move in the direction I think that we've intended it to be, with him being that point person, unifying both buildings, doing all the ordering for both buildings. We meet fairly regularly in terms of how things are going. I think he's touching base with the principals on a regular basis as well. So we're transitioning nicely to where we want to be with that. It's nice to have that kind of that second set of eyes looking at the buildings and being able to do the walkthroughs and really start honing in on the things that we need to address going forward. He'll take the lead when we have to do our walkthroughs for certificate of occupancy. We do have a building condition survey coming up this year for state. I already reached out to Mosaic, who has done our last few. They're our architect firm that we use for the capital project. So they know that that we're on the list to get it done. So we'll have Dave take that lead as the time comes. But things are transitioning nicely with that new position.
Good.
And all I have to report for operations.
Thank you. That brings us to the superintendent's report.
Okay, lots of exciting things happening and continuing over the next 2 weeks. I'll start at the middle high school. So the seniors ran a pretty epic haunted house with a muted Halloween spooky house for children who are a bit younger. They raised almost $2,000. So it's pretty astounding for one night's work.
Yeah.
And a little bit of fake blood and some bed sheets and hockey masks. They did pretty good.
I
And
heard the chainsaws were a big hit.
they were, yes, but not for the younger.
No.
Great.
It was really nice. I mean, the kids were lined up out, and it was all student planned, and so it was a really nice kickoff to what was a very exciting Halloween weekend and series of festivities on Monday. The senior lounge has been officially opened. At the middle high school, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony on Tuesday, and students have been taking advantage of that new setting that they got to design themselves. So very, very pleased to see that happening. Our drama club is in the process of finalizing their production of Clue. So this coming weekend, we will be able to see the hard work of Mr. Gotham and our acting troupe. So we're excited for that. Students in the middle school have completed their benchmark testing that we use for our math and ELA. This is one of those adaptive tests that I've referenced in the past that changes based on the answers students provide and gives some immediate feedback to teachers about some of the deficits we're seeing that they can address immediately through response to intervention periods with students, RTI. So they completed that, and we're in the process of reviewing all that data with teams across the middle school. The mental health team has completed a student survey that is really helping us to identify students in grades 7 through 12 who may be struggling to varying degrees. The counseling team has met and they've spoken to parents after some students indicated in their responses that they could use some additional supports. So we have a variety of supports that are new this year, in addition to the regular assistance of our mental health team and our district social worker. And one of those supports, there will be a parent night for on Monday, and this is the launching of our Woods program. So you may recall that the Woods program is a partnership that the district has to provide in year one 4 days and 3 nights of wilderness skills and wilderness therapy to up to 50 of our grade 8 through 12 students on 4 separate excursions. So I actually had an opportunity to tour the land in Anchiota, not far from Buck Pond Campground, and got a sense of what the students would be doing, tying knots, learning fire making skills, survival in various climates, and I'm excited for our kids. It's going to be a really neat opportunity.
Tim, may I ask a question?
Please, by all means.
Okay. So the Woods program, is that targeted to children that are struggling or, need those bonding experiences? Or is this for any student that would like to learn more about outdoor, survival?
That's a great question, Colleen. It's both.
Okay,
And so because this is our first year and it's something of a pilot, our proof of concept is to try and do a little bit of both of the things you described. So the surveying that we did of our students, some of the questions that we added that we haven't previously added were, who would you go to in the school if you had a problem? Who do you admire and respect in the school? Who would you like to have a conversation with? And we can align those students with the adults that they reference so that we know that there's some mentorship there, but also students who indicate no one for those categories, those are the students that we're reaching out to with parents. And to some degree that reflects disengagement. So if those students are encouraged to participate in the Woods program, then that's who we want to target in year one. But we also have students who are invested and are going to go into conservation careers or just enjoy bonding with their classmates. And so we want a healthy mix of those two groups together.
that's great.
So that's kind of the plan for year one. If things continue to grow as we hope, then we just hope this will be part of the experience of being a student in my class. So it's a really nice launch. Where was it? So lots of various job opportunities and exposure for high school students. We've been partnering with area businesses to and even changing some of our student schedules if they had some downtime in their senior day to try and get them out exposure into the workforce. So that's been really productive. Had some great conversations with the Olympic Center next door and Homestead Development and their building of houses. We have one of our students working there now who is really a strong hands-on learner, is going to be going into building trades. So every day at 11 o'clock, he is over there and works the rest of the day, gets paid $20 an hour to build homes that our staff will live in. So it's pretty awesome. National Honor Society selections and inductions are on November 16th. So I know we're looking forward to celebrating the strong academic performers in our district on the 16th. We're inviting a group from Plattsburgh called Sweethearts and Heroes, led by a gentleman named Tom Murphy. And on the 7th, they're going to be presenting to our students and our teachers on restorative practices. And essentially, restorative practices in this context means that when there are disagreements or misunderstandings amongst a group of people, how do you acknowledge the harm and then find ways to move forward and heal? And so one of the ways that this is done is to practice circles. So people, students in this situation who may have a disagreement, they learn the process of articulating their feelings through this. And the goal is to restore the relationship, not simply to just acknowledge the harm and kind of just move past it. It's to really rebuild the relationship and give some guidance to build the emotional intelligence of our students. So we're excited to have the troop from Sweethearts and Heroes coming
What date
to
did
do
you
that.
say that was?
November 7th.
7.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Back to Halloween, we had a very great turnout. It was a banner day weather-wise for the parade on Main Street. It was really an all hands on deck experience. It was the length to which our community mobilizes in just very simple but important ways. You know, our village police department with Chuck Dobson, the business association, St. Agnes, our transportation department, the middle high school band, Keith Clark in his coordination role, Mrs. Huber and her art students doing a craft with the students during and after the parade, over 30 student volunteers helping out. So the parade was a resounding success. We had lots of smiles and costumes, and I got to toe the line between superintendent and father in the parade, which is always a nice line to toe with my pre-K son. So I was very excited about that opportunity as well. The elementary students before the parade, they were at the Olympic Training Center, which hosted a trunk or treat for our students. They also went to Elderwood of Uline and did a trick or treat for the guests there. It's very well regarded, I'm told. And then there was a dance afterwards at the Olympic Center. And I know Mr. Clark, once again, was instrumental in coordinating that and was even working to get students out of their seats and change the dance songs to ensure that dancing was actually happening with success. So that's really a testament to who we have in that position. It's a talented person. We're very fortunate. So all told, Halloween was a great success. Our elementary school and middle high school staff have done a really nice job over the past couple of weeks in fielding requests that the administration has put out to get a comprehensive look at how we promote civics and citizenship in our school. And so I kind of see this as an ongoing conversation because we do a lot. And one of the points I'd like to culminate my report with is to talk about how what we do starting in kindergarten and going into 12th grade, how we could perhaps tap into a specific accreditation through the New York State Education Department that would reflect those goals of civic mindedness and civic readiness in our school and put it as one of the crown jewels of Lake Placid. I know it's something that's come up several times. We had a reference to it in public comment previously. Ron, I know you mentioned it in previous meetings. So there's a lot. So I'm just going to every board meeting kind of parse out some of the things that are done to kind of weave a tapestry about civics. So I'm going to start at our lowest levels at kindergarten. So all of our kindergarten students, they take a variety of community field trips. They go to post office, they go to the police station, the newspaper, and public library. And these are just designed to give them an understanding of what some of our community institutions are and how they operate. When students go into first grade, they do a community day field trip. They have units on Flag Day, Memorial Day, President's Day, Veterans Day, and Election Day. They also start undertaking class jobs, which at times lead to some voting in the classroom at an early age, which is nice. In grades 2, students learn about the types of communities about rural, urban, and suburban settings. And they do a specific unit on citizenship. In grade 3, students look at the United States comparatively to other countries, government, and the symbols of the US. They also look at citizenship, immigration, culture, and do an intensive unit on the Pilgrims and the Mayflower. In grade 4, our students apply for jobs to take care of the classroom in the Stratford's class. And in grade 5, students participate in a current events class with Mr. Fermanti. They are told to bring a current event to discuss, and they are encouraged to bring those things, not to bring it from a specific news source, but to just bring what they have, and they start learning about bias and how to try and look at the news cycle from a neutral standpoint. And that really culminates with the trip to Albany in the state capitol. That takes place in Mr. Fermanti's class in 5th grade. So one of the pieces that is exciting as we've started to take some of this work is in 2020, the Department of Education in New York State put forth a pilot program for what's called a Seal of Civic Readiness. And so the Seal of Civic Readiness is a formal recognition that a student has attained a high level of proficiency in civic knowledge, civic skills, civic mindset, and civic experiences. And basically what this is when you graduate, you could get a Regents diploma, you could get a local diploma, you could get a Regents diploma with certain honors, but you could also get a Regents diploma with a Seal of Civic Readiness. And in order to obtain that, you have to pass all of the necessary Regents for the Regents diploma. But then you have to score a series of a minimum of 6 or more points on a scale. And the way that those points are issued is 4 points are issued if you complete a civics capstone project. It's fun that we already have a capstone project that was referenced. Casey Kyler came here and presented it. We would just need to, if this was something the board was interested in pursuing, ensure that part of that capstone project has some civic capacity in it, basically. Make sure that there's some specific metrics that are met in that paper. There's a research project that's done that provides 1 additional point. If a student takes 4 credits of social studies, they get a point. And if they achieve mastery levels in their social studies Regents exams, then they get 1.5 points. So this kind of program has geared up. Last year, there were about 80 students that were the pilot class for the Seal of Civic Readiness in the North Country. There were, I guess, from the Syracuse region all the way to Lake Champlain, there were 2 schools that piloted this originally. One of them was Chateauguay Central, where I was formerly a teacher, so I do have some connections with the folks who have done that work there. But this seems like a potentially meritorious thing for the district to pursue if civics and citizenship are going to be a continuous goal of the district to try and embed in what we're doing with our students. So more to come on this topic, but I didn't want to seed the ground so it is and not start discussing this, particularly with elections a week away here. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think the new direction for the parade is really good too. Like them ending at the Oval. I think that worked really well.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Martha.
Has there been any response to the ads for substitutes at a higher rate of pay?
Yes. Yes. The market has spoken. We have 15 new subs that are in the application pool being processed presently. 5 that interviewed today. We've had 4 interview, I think, the previous day. I ran into a retiree at Heaven Hill, and this person was talking to my son, and then got to talking about the school, and she said, I just started subbing at the school again. Did you hear that they, increased the sub rate? And I was like, I did hear. So at the end, she's like, what's your name again? I'm like, it's not important. It's all good. So, which is just great.
That is great.
So we have a lot of retirees. Brendan Gotham, Jenny Winch, the co-presidents of the LPEA union, and I drafted and sent a letter to all the retirees who have retired from the union in the past 5 years, just notifying them as well, and just welcoming them back if there's any interest, even just on an intermittent
I've heard a
basis.
lot.
Good.
Good.
All
No,
right, so
I
the
hope,
message
I
is
hope
that
that's like the base that you're getting is mostly the retirees that are coming out. So I
It
think
sounds
that's
like
great.
quite a few.
it's,
Yeah.
it- we're,
No, I
what
think
we're
that's
getting
great.
is getting a lot of certified people, which is who we want to put in front of our kids. So
Right, absolutely.
No,
Great, it's fabulous.
Oh, Martha has her hand up.
Yep. Second question. I heard some rumbling from taxpayers, as they say, about the independent schools and parochial school not necessarily being included as much as they would have liked in the Halloween celebrations. For example, Northwood students around the Oval helping with that, and littles from the daycares. It sounded like there might have been a dropped ball, and I just wanted to bring that to the table. I got my ear bent about that.
Okay, sure. Well, consider the ball picked up, and anytime we can embed more community in what we're doing, we're going to do it. So noted and appreciated. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Anything else there, brother? Excellent. All right, moving on, there's some information for the board. You'll see there's some information about the audit report. Please take a look at that. That moves us into the discussion phase of meeting, where we have the board self-evaluation. Discussion of this.
Well, it definitely was an easy format to do. It was nice to be able to do it online versus, the previous format of handwriting. And so I thought that was nice. Pretty easy to use.
I thought so as well.
Does anybody have any of the standards that they want to discuss? I mean, I didn't see in the report any warning red flags or anything.
No,
It's nice to see everything was effective. So, overall.
Yeah. Which one was
What was
that?
that? Highly objective.
2A.
Yes.
I missed that. Says develop. Oh, the board retreat. Yep. Since I came on during COVID, I don't know what this board
What?
retreat is. Never had one.
Yeah.
Colleen, you were usually the one that would bring that up.
no, the reason that I was initially just pushing for the informal one was that board members could just get to know each other on a personal level. And I felt that if we're going to do a retreat where there is a purpose to it and spend $2,000 or whatever, that myself personally, I don't want someone coming in and standing up and doing a PowerPoint presentation that I read on the screen and it's like, hurry up, let's get to the next
Sure,
slide.
yeah.
I think it's important if we're doing a board retreat and to have some end goal that is interactive, that we're getting something out of it. And we're not just having someone stand in front of the room for 3 hours reading off the screen, because I think that's a waste of money.
I agree.
And I just can't justify myself personally when there's other things we could be spending our money on. So if someone can find something that's of real value to us, where we're going to lead with some kind of impactful knowledge and that we, grow as a board, I think that's a great idea.
Well, I think we should just keep our feelers out for something that would fit that.
Karen's really good. You seem to come up with some good ideas. You're kind of in the loop of what's out there, but there's got to be something out there that's really kind of engaging, that's current and relevant, and that we can gain something from that. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true. It's good. It's good thought.
Well, rent kayaks and go out kayaking.
That's a good one too. But it was good, I think, a nice evening to be able to just get to know each other on a personal level. I thought that was important, talk about families and what we do out here.
It is.
Regarding the retreats put on by NISBA, I'm one of their retreat facilitators, Colleen, and you should know that I endeavor to keep my mouth shut as much as possible and bring out the wisdom in the room. And the feedback is always that people feel like they've gotten closer. And so your point is well taken, that the person shouldn't be up there lecturing and flipping through PowerPoints. It works much better if there's dialogue and back and forth and engagement and one-on-ones and so forth. And I think you can find that through NISBA if you want to utilize that tool.
Thanks, Martha. I'm sure that there are a variety of opportunities. It's just figuring out which one I think works best for the group collectively.
Agreed. Any other discussion on the board self-evaluation? If not, I would just thank you all for filling that out. And also thank you for, I don't really know how to say this, but I feel that the current makeup of the board, I can trust that everyone is, I trust that everyone comes to the board in an honest way. You know, I don't feel like, I don't have to worry about disturbing subcurrents or, coups. I mean, you put up.
In the parking lot after this.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's right, the meeting after the meeting, no hidden agendas. And so I very much appreciate the openness and the honesty which everybody pushes the job, or that you're that good at the subterfuge that I don't notice it. So either way, thank you very much to everybody for that.
How many goals?
I think, Karen, you probably tabulated this or you were involved or something.
No, I mean, literally, I just pushed a couple buttons.
Oh, good. Well,
That's
thanks
all
for
I
doing that.
did. I didn't have to
Thank
do
you.
one, I didn't have to do my little tally sheet like I have in the past.
Okay, so that takes us to the next discussion topic, which is the public comment response section. And I guess I'll just speak first because this was something that I added to the agenda. What I would like to talk about is the possibility of adding a section, probably at the beginning, before the public comment section of the meeting, where we have an opportunity to put information to the public in response to public comment. On in the moment. And I don't want to like get us into a position where we feel like we have to comment on everything, but as a way to say, such and such was referenced in public comment, here's the data behind that. Or if it's about questions about school policies, we can present those policies. And it's not something that we necessarily have to discuss, but it would be on the agenda, it would be available to the public. And we could just kind of like highlight that so that if there is something that we want to respond to, or at least add information to the discussion, we have an opportunity to do that in a public way. Mostly just for transparency, because I think that most people that have comments that they come in or concerns could be answered by finding those policies or finding that information. It's not necessarily something that we have to draft a response, but just to say, here is the pertinent information behind that. So that was my idea. I'm sure that there's probably pros and cons to that.
I don't see any cons to it. I
No,
think it's
it's
a great idea. I mean, people make a comment, they want to know that we heard them,
Right.
and this is a way to do it. You got, I think it's great.
It's tough. I mean,
Valid
sometimes
feedback.
sitting
Yeah.
here, when they're talking to us and we come across as if, well,
Yeah.
thanks so much for letting us know. Let's move on to the
Right.
next item. It's really
That's some
difficult.
sort of response.
But I also think it's great when you do that little bit of verbiage at the beginning where you say that we're not going to get into some type of a
Back and
back and
forth,
forth,
yeah.
because it could end up being like some of the other boards across the country where
Sure.
it turns volatile, but to be able to provide them with information at a future board meeting, I think might be a great idea.
I like it.
Yeah, and I just thought that would be a good way to stay. I'm a big proponent of transparency, and especially transparency that people can access at any point.
Right.
I think that one of the problems with a lot of organizations is they are transparent, but you have to go digging or you have to go talk to a
Right.
person. Whereas this would be something that would be out in the public and that, then people could reference. They could look at the agenda and see those links and get that information. And I think that that would just be so I guess we'll have to, if everybody is kind of, generally in agreement about that, we'll have to come up with some sort of process, because I also don't want to do a whole lot of like freestyling on it every time, we won't reinvent the wheel every time this happens. So, but have some sort of process, some kind of, guardrails to kind of make it easy. So it's more of just
No,
they brought up this subject, here's the pertinent information.
no, because it's important that they feel that they've been heard and they don't
Absolutely.
just walk out of here like, well, they're all sitting there looking at us and not responding. I think that's a good idea.
Great. So we'll, I guess, in the agenda setting meeting, come up with something.
I think that might be part of the solution too, Dan, is that when you look in board docs, so for the good of the cause, public may address the board. So hypothetically, if we had a community member here talking about our participation rate in sports, right? Then at our next, the board would listen to those comments at our next agenda setting meeting. We could have a dialogue about, is there specific information that we could report back? Because that time to assess, the information, to understand it, and then to affirm or assess what they're saying to some degree, that time is so important. So we can provide a clear response, but then maybe for the good of the cause, in that instance, it's is information for the community or information for the
Right.
public.
Right.
And there's specific points related to participation rates in sports that have been vetted, not in the moment. And that would manifest in our agenda setting meeting. And then B, for that would then be public may address the board. So that way people come back to talk about that same topic. They're pre-led with the information, yeah.
Great. I think that would be great.
That's a
Thank
good
you,
format.
everyone. All right, so 5A, sorry, any other comments on that before I move on? That's 6A and 6B. It's nice that personnel section is a little shorter this time.
Yeah.
Not quite so much, and we're just filling those positions. It's great. And then 7A and 7B, the sports merger approval and special education were both consent agenda as well. Which brings us to the second for the good of the cause. Have we received any emails?
We have not.
Okay. So 9A, linking goals with agenda items.
Students first and foremost with the Woods program and all the information that Tim was talking about, that reaching out to students and their questionnaires and finding out what students, might need additional intervention. So I thought those things are pretty important.
And hands-on opportunities for the kids. BOCES program.
Well, I mean, all the Halloween celebrations.
So that's all.
Yeah.
That's-
yeah.
that's-
That's the linking community thing.
Yeah,
The community.
that checks a lot of boxes.
So Tim, do we have equipment, everything we need for the Woods program?
So yeah, that is one of the neat parts of the program is our partnership with the program. They provide like all of the gear for the students down to the boots. And so everyone gets, really good gear that they're wearing. It removes a lot of concern about equity and classism. And
Yeah,
people are in the woods together and they're all wearing the same stuff.
it's fabulous.
Pretty awesome. When I toured the facility, Lauren Yates accompanied me as well.
Yeah, yeah.
She's gonna do a write-up on it because, this is, it's
very
a nice
exciting.
program to take advantage of the park, intentionally like this.
Do you have a time of year that you're targeting? Is it the fall or spring or when is it?
So, yeah, so it is, so it's true, yeah. So our first 2 trips will take place in January.
Nice.
So I know now one of the benefits of the property though is that there are 5 different outbuildings. You'll see some pictures of Seward and Enterprise when they cover it, but they're really nice. And so there's some rules built in about when they access those, and part of them have to do with temperatures and weather conditions and safety. Part of them also have to do with group morale. So if the group morale is, necessitates going inside, or the team's like, no, I just want to go in, then like that's,
Yeah.
they're responsive to the needs of the group.
No,
It's fabulous.
no, it's great. It's
A
great.
great training.
Does it link up at all with NCCC's Wilderness Rec program? I know that they take them out in the woods for like 2 weeks in the winter. I didn't know if there was any connection there.
I think once because we're going to be the piloters here regionally, I think we'll establish those links. Like, so the property is owned by Paul Smiths, and so their director of facilities also met us on the grounds. And they talked a lot about their maintenance of the Vic Center and this property as well, that they use for their conservation program and their forestry program and lumbering programs. And then we have Christian Whistler's program at the BOCES for the students who are in the conservation science. So long story short, like the students who want to be in the woods, or who will learn that they want to be in the woods through exposure, they can now get that experience as young as 8th grade. Prior, the only experience they could get was part-time during the day as an 11th grader at BOCES. So we've opened up 3 years for kids in exposure, which is going to be big. And I was talking to an environmental conservation officer the other day, and we talked about opportunities to have them come and present to our students too after these trips about the career opportunities. I was at the Adirondack Foundation 2 weeks ago at a conference, and they were talking about the need for caretakers for all of the different camps in the region, and how they pay a fantastic living for people who do it, but
Very good
they just
living.
can't find the people to do it anymore. So yet again, like, we have to get creative in exposing our students to the careers that allow them to sustain themselves in the community. So
Yeah, it's a great program. It's very exciting.
It is exciting.
All right, if you have any other links there? Karen? Moving on to next meeting date and location. November 15th will still be at 6:30, correct? Because that is the
Yeah.
day that you have the meeting.
So I do want to reference that as well. So we have postponed our strategic plan launch until December. I have a meeting with our facilitator on Monday. We're going to reestablish a timeline. So that is postponed, but that work is going to take place in December. So that in that term, there's no actual conflict on the books. It's just up to the board as to when they would want to look at the start time of the meeting once again, whether it be 6 or 6:30.
So I scheduled
we're-
the audit committee to be at 6 o'clock that day.
Oh, okay, so we already have something there. So
Yeah.
perfect. Then it looks like we can go to 6 o'clock starting at the same.
Great.
Perfect.
That's great.
And then in December 6th, it'll be 6.
Yes. 6 at 6. And then there's a note in here, should we cancel December 20th? I mean, we can also make that decision as we get closer and see what's on the agenda. There's nothing pressing. Okay. Great. Any old agenda topics? Any new agenda?
Tim, is there any update on the thought of doing a parent night for technology? I
Yes.
asked that earlier.
Yes, that's, so we have our tech team and our mental health team putting something together for that right now.
That's wonderful.
So I don't have a date yet, but
Yeah,
I know that they're working.
great. Thanks so much.
Any other new agenda topics? Great. So that moves us into the adjournment phase of the meeting, or sorry, to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Second.
All right, you guys can fight it out.
Dan and Joan.
Who's on there? We have a second, all in favor. All right. All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Great.
All right, nice meeting.
Thanks, Martha.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Martha.
Martha.
Thank you.
Hi, Martha.
Live feed over there.